there. Thank you for joining us on TVC News at 10. Here are the stories we're tracking tonight.
Close to 200 newly elected lawmakers pledged support for Femi Gbajabiamila's speakership ambition.
Residents protest award of 398 acres of land to one family.
Thousands more join Sudanese protesters calling for transfer to civilian rule.
And in sports, 2022 World Cup host Qatar unveils 40,000-seater stadium.
The ambition of House Leader Femi Gbajabiamila to assume the seat of Speaker has gotten a boost, with 178 new members adopting his candidature.
That was after a meeting among the newly elected House members. National Assembly correspondent Joke Adisa tells us more.
The clock is ticking, and the time for incoming members of the House of Representatives to elect their leaders is closing in. At the end of a far-reaching meeting in Abuja, newly elected members of the House of Representatives rose with one voice, declaring the fifth-term legislator, Femi Gbajabiamila, as their choice for Speaker. House of Assembly Speaker in Akwa Ibom State, Onofiok Luke, spoke on behalf of the 178 members-elect, cutting across political parties. He said Gbajabiamila remains the only contender with requisite knowledge to lead the 9th House.
And we have resolved today to have come from our different states, from our different constituencies, to say that we have found, as newly elected members, having looked through the credentials and the CV, we have found in Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila as the man who has the capacity to lead the 9th National Assembly as the Speaker of House of Representatives.
The new members described the House leader as a bridge builder.
The man who will not mortgage the independence of the legislature, but at the same time too will not engage the executive in unnecessary fisticuffs. A man who will build a good relationship between the executive and the legislature, between the legislature and the judiciary. A man who will care about the welfare of Nigerians.
You know that this will be the 5th term of Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila in the Federal House of Representatives. He's been a minority leader. From there, he transformed into being the majority leader. This is the guy that is capable of holding his own anywhere in the world as a legislator.
Gbajabiamila is in the race with the likes of Nkiruka Onyejeocha, a 4th-term member, Chike Okafor from Imo, Abdulrazak Namdas from Adamawa, John Tie from Benue, and Muhammad Bago from Niger State. The 360 members are slated to elect their Speaker and Deputy Speaker next month using a secret ballot system of voting upon proclamation of the 9th Assembly by President Muhammadu Buhari. Joke Adisa, TVC News, Abuja.
The Lagos State House of Assembly was busy today with hundreds of residents of Agidingbe area who were there to protest over a court ruling giving the homes they live in to one family. The Supreme Court granted judgment in favor of the Akinole Oshio family to take possession of 398 acres of land, including 2,000 properties in the area, as well as in Akme, Magodo, and some parts of the capital, Ikeja. Correspondent Ayodele Zugbako has the story.
This is the global scale of the magnitude of the Supreme Court judgment awarding ownership to the Akinole Oshio family. It was a matter that was before the court system and went all the way to the Supreme Court. What this entails is a wide expanse of land, 398 acres spanning the Ikeja, Alausa, Magodo, and Agindugbe axis of Lagos states.
In consequence of the family legal possession of his land and the receipt of the certified true copy of the Form O, confirming that the vast land in Agidingbe area, Ikeja, Lagos State, covered by survey plan number CK/LS/272, dated 22nd of December 1977, had been peaceably delivered to the Akinole Oshio family.
This might be easier said than done. This matter was before several courts for more than 4 decades, and in 4 decades, the areas in question have undergone one form of development or the other. What this means is that for those who have inhabited the land, all this while, the message is simple: regularize or face the prospect of structures being demolished.
The only way by which...
And it may not be smooth sailing for the victors in whose favor judgment was handed down. The respondents say they have no notice of this matter before the Supreme Court and accuse the Akinole Oshion family of underhanded tactics in staking their claim.
No knowledge of that. Nobody told us. I was born 83 years ago at Agidingbi village. It was a village, thick village then. My grandmother was born there. My great-grandfather was born there. And we've never had any history. Nobody told us any history about Akinole.
In the publication, they say they want Lagos state government. Then if they want to take possession, let them come and take possession of Secretariat at Alausa. That is Lagos state property. And TV8.
They just come on Friday's morning last week. Started pasting possession paper and writing all the possession paper. So immediately I asked my boys that they should leave them. They should not fight them.
What is of concern is the threats of violence and possible loss of life if this situation is not kept in check.
Repeat to your youth to maintain the peace, no matter the level of provocation. They shouldn't allow anybody to provoke them, because you don't know some of these land grabbers are somehow aggressive. They can come up with weapons and all these things, which we don't even have.
In 2010, the Akinole Oshion family got judgment conferring ownership of the disputed land. The Lagos state government went on appeal, and after a legal battle that went all the way to the apex courts, now the families are ready to consolidate their victory. Posters are on walls and public notices posted directing everyone affected about the details of the order of execution. The weeks and months and possibly years ahead will determine how easy or possible it may be to enforce this landmark judgment. Ayodele Zubako, TVC News, Lagos.
We told you earlier that the 178 new members of the House of Reps have now adopted the candidature of Femi Gbajabiamila as leader of the House. Our correspondent Joke Adisa joins us live from Abuja now for more on that development. Joke, that figure is already higher than half the number of the seats in the House of Representatives. Is this support a cross-party line, and what reasons are they given for the endorsement?
"78 members that have endorsed House Leader Femi Gbajabiamila. They cut across party lines. They are not up to half of the House yet, because it would need 181, at least 181 to actually win, because it's about simple majority. But from what we saw today, from what they have said, well, the Honorable Gbajabiamila may as well go and sleep. But of course, in politics, you know, it is not over until it is over. An hour, of course, is enough to also turn things upside down, but we are hoping that that will not happen. From what we have seen today, and from what the lawmakers have said, coming together even without prompting to adopt and endorse one of the candidates, of course, speaks volume. But of course, we don't know what their respective parties will come up with. We'll see that PDP has been rather quiet over the issue. In the last few weeks that the issue has been generating ripples, PDP has been silent. Other parties too, along the leadership line, have also been quiet. So we are waiting to see what they will, how they will direct their members to cast their ballots, knowing fully well that it's a secret ballot system that they are adopting. No one knows. You just go to a corner, collect your ballot paper, you go to a corner and cast your ballot. There's no way to also to look at who each or every one of them votes for. So we're going to see. But for his candidature, the member from Lagos State, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, who is coming to the National Assembly for the 5th time, of course, today's endorsement speaks volume, and it definitely boosts his aspiration to occupy the seat.
We saw an House of Member-elect from Akwa Ibom State who appeared to be a member of the PDP in the report you sent to us. Is there an ongoing arrangement between the APC and the opposition, bearing in mind that the APC earlier said he wasn't going to share any juicy committee with the opposition parties?
Yes, but you know, politics is about give and take. The party has said its own, and the man that is at the center of it all, of course, is also lobbying, trying to meet people, trying to meet his colleagues on the need to also vote for him, on the need to believe in his person. And so that was the result that we have seen. Yes, it's easy for individual members to come out and say, yes, I'm aligning myself, but of course we are waiting because the party, of course, will also have a say somehow. I will remember in 2015 how PDP swayed the votes, and the Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila lost with barely five votes. So this time we are looking at how it plays out. But basically, from what we have seen today, of course, it is good news for Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila. But more importantly, is what will follow after now. 1 hour, like I said before, is too much of a time to turn things around. So we're looking and we are hoping that PDP too will also buy into the person of Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila. But one thing that they have also reasoned against, those that are standing against the person of Honorable Gbajabiamila, is the party stance. But of course, you know, this idea of asserting the legislation, wanting to assert its independence, I think that is where they matter, because no one has come up to say Honorable Gbajabiamila is not qualified. He's duly qualified. He's coming for the 5th time. He's a lawyer. He's a very renowned. He was a minority leader, and then he became a majority leader. And so it's not about his ability, but about the fact that they do not want the party to foist a person on them. But beyond that, I think he's also moving fast and moving among his colleagues, whom he knows that they are the ones that will decide eventually.
All right, let me hear from you briefly. Gbajabiamila, Honorable Gbajabiamila is in the race with about 4 other candidates, one of them a 4th-term member. Have you heard from other parties in reaction to this recent endorsement? I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there, Joke. Well, nothing is cast in stone yet. It's going to be a secret ballot voting.
She said something interesting that a day or even a minute is too much in politics.
That's
Coming
right.
up on TVC News at 10.
Bayelsa State attains 91% of immunized children from January to April this year.
And it's good news as the remaining Nigerian wrongly arrested in Saudi Arabia regains freedom. Stay with us for details.
Welcome back. Ahead of the inauguration of the 9th Assembly, members-elect in the Lagos State House of Assembly have now vowed to work in the interest of masses in the next 4 years.
The lawmakers said this at the opening ceremony of their inaugural induction holding in the state. The program also had in attendance the state governor-elect Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Lagos Assembly correspondent Abimbola Agbebiyi packaged the report.
Knowledge and understanding.
It's the induction and workshop for members-elect of the 9th Assembly in Lagos, tagged Responsive Representation and Quality Legislation as Prerequisites to Good Governance. Having received their certificates of return as members-elect in the Lagos Assembly, it was time for these lawmakers to learn the rudiments of the business of lawmaking. Speaker of the House, Right Honorable Mudashiru Obasa, declared the program open.
It gives me great pleasure to welcome all my colleagues, both returning and newly honorable members-elect of Lagos State House of Assembly, as well as members of management and staff, to this induction program, which is our very special way of welcoming new members.
Urging members to take seriously the task ahead of them in the next 4 years, Obasa assured residents of the state of an improved legislature that would do all it could to churn out people-oriented laws as the years roll by.
After the celebration of our collective victories, there is a need to settle down and take a look at our electioneering promises and design a blueprint towards redeeming them within the framework of legislative powers conferred on us by the Constitution. And this is the reason for this assembly team: responsive representation and quality legislation as prerequisite to good governance.
Also speaking at the event was the Lagos State Governor-elect Babajide Sanwo-Olu. He stated that top on his to-do list are plans to complete every ongoing project in the state.
Government in itself is a continuum, right? Meaning that you are taking over both the assets and liability, right? It will be unfair for Lagosians for us to abandon projects that, because we did not conceive it, and leave it undone. The strategy will be to very quickly be able to complete those projects, put them to good use for Lagosians, and innovatively create our own, projects that we believe will also still bring about positive development for Lagosians. So it will be a continued government.
The program is expected to last for 2 days, while acquainting the lawmakers with the basic knowledge to function.
The Explosive Ordnance Disposal Command of the Nigeria Police Force is determined to check access to improvised explosive devices. Senior correspondent Ivy Kano says this was discussed at a meeting with stakeholders and commanders across the country. Her report.
Since Boko Haram began its terror activities in 2009, the northern part of the country continues to experience bombs detonations, particularly in the northeast. So for a department whose responsibility it is to check such, it is a task that calls for sustained effort. From across the country, the base commanders arrived in Ikeja, Lagos, to attend to the meeting with their new commissioner of police. As they gather in groups, they may be wondering what the new helmsman of the command has on his plates. With the theme evaluating performance of EOD in 2019 elections and strategizing to combat current threats, the new boss says officers must remain resolute and unwavering in their commitment in the fight against insurgency and other criminality in the country.
It is our duty also to deter use of explosives and other dangerous materials by hardening the target. You are as well enjoined to develop appropriate response strategies and preparedness for responding to nuclear incidents and emergencies.
Done with his men, it was time to meet stakeholders from Ministry of Mines, Nigeria Nuclear Regulatory Authority and others to deliberate on issues relating to allied materials importation, storage, transportation and sales. He charged them to make national security their priority.
As for the sanctions, it is spelled out. They all know because they apply through the regulatory bodies for those licenses. Where they are issued those licenses, they are expected to adhere strictly to the tenets of those agreements, whereby if they fail in complying to those tenets, their licenses will be withdrawn and they will be sanctioned accordingly.
As they depart, the command called for information from members of the public. Ivy Kano, TVC News, Lagos.
Let's now move to Gombe State, where the dusk to dawn curfew imposed by the state government will continue until pockets of violent attacks end. Now, this was the outcome of an expanded State Security Council meeting, which included leaders of the Muslim and Christian communities. Correspondent Elari Adeyemi reports.
For 5 days, residents of Gombe Town, the capital of Gombe State, have been groaning under the effects of dusk to dawn curfew imposed by the state government. But they would have to endure a little longer.
We are on another round of security meeting.
The government has decided to extend the curfew until peace is fully restored. This decision was taken after an expanded meeting that included religious leaders in the state.
Up till now, there are pockets of incidences around Hamadukabi and Bagadaza areas, which is to say that at least the security agencies are not very certain of the current situation in those areas. So the curfew remains until further notice.
The religious leaders also spoke with one voice, condemning the violence and calling on their followers to be tolerant and peaceful.
So I want to call on our people to go back. Let's return to where we were. We are a peaceful people. We have coexisted over time. We have lived with one another. Here, Muslims, Christians, we all are from the same place, same families. In the same family you have Muslims, in the same family you have Christians. So we can't rise against one another. And so let's put these things behind us.
What happened was not organized by the two religions. And we are taking the message to the two faiths, Islam and the Christianity, on Friday and Sunday.
The curfew imposed by Gombe state government on its capital remains as then-looking security personnel patrol the streets. There have been pockets of violence every single day regardless of the curfew. The hope is that the involvement of religious leaders and traditional rulers would help to put a stop to the violence that began on Easter Monday. Landry Adeyemi, TVC News, Gombe.
It's good news again for Nigerians and the family of Ibrahim Abubakar, the remaining Nigerian who was wrongly arrested alongside Zainab Aliyu in Saudi Arabia. Both of them were accused of trafficking banned drugs into the country. The federal government has now fulfilled the promise it made days ago that it would ensure his release to the Nigerian consulate in Saudi Arabia. He has now been released to the acting consul general, Nigerian consulate in Jeddah, Garba Satomi Greba.
But the news of the bail of 7 members of the cartel responsible for planting the banned drugs in Zainab Aliyu's luggage is not going down well with her father, Habib Aliyu, and some residents of Kano State. They have appealed to the government and relevant authorities to ensure the suspects are rearrested and prosecuted accordingly.
I begin to wonder that these people, as I'm speaking to you now, they are released on bail, though it is available. But my daughter was relinquishing in Saudi Arabia. They were free. And also, as I'm speaking to you, one of the culprits is now in Saudi Arabia performing lesser Hajj. And he went through the same international airport, Kano International Airport. I don't think if I, as a father, tell you what I feel about that, I really will underestimate it.
I feel not good. It's a very bad situation. We expected the government to prosecute them and to deny them bail so that it will serve as a very good example to other people that are engaging themselves in this kind of act.
I'm actually against the idea of giving them on bail. I think it is just improper the way the things happen.
No, this is very bad. Please, we are calling the government that they should follow these people and make sure that they prosecute those that are involved in these criminal acts.
We feel so surprised and we feel bad because how people that committed such kind of crime will granted bail so soon.
Bayelsa State has moved from 26% to 91% of properly immunized children in Nigeria for the first quarter of 2019. This was what the program manager of the National Emergency Routine Immunization Coordination Center told journalists in Yenegua after a meeting with the Deputy Governor of the state and officials of the State Ministry of Health. Oviatemi George was there.
In October 2017, near chaotic scenes were recorded at nursery, primary and secondary schools over a monkeypox vaccination scare in Bayelsa State. The rumor spread like wildfire to the nooks and crannies of the state, prompting parents to withdraw their children from schools and shun medical programs involving immunization and vaccination of children. This follows an indicator survey report by the National Emergency Routine Immunization Center, which placed Bayelsa 16th among 18 worst-performing states in immunization.
Everything they have said.
A quarterly assessment of the performance of the state in 2019 reveals that the story has changed for the better.
Our interventions will mostly focus on these 18 states.
From these 18 states that were poor performing, Bayelsa is number 2 as per the last LQAS. As at the point we started the LQAS, they had a baseline of 26% of properly immunized children. But as at April, with the LQAS of Q1, they have 91% of properly immunized children, looking at CAT and history.
We use what we call house-to-house mobilizers. We have them in every community in the state, and they go around in the communities, people who live in the communities, who know all the residents in the community, who know every pregnant woman, and who know who is about to be given birth, and who also knows every child under 1 year old. So that those children are line listed, and when our supervisors go with the health workers, we actually immunize the children.
Public health is of primary concern to the Bayelsa state government.
Government has responsibility to ensure that they are taken care of, they are provided for. The federal government collaborating with us, with other agencies, and we have keyed into it. They give us conditions, we satisfy them, but with commitment of the governor, his interest, his passion for healthcare delivery, I can assure you that we're going to cover all the other areas.
The state government is willing to open more vistas of partnership with the federal government for improved healthcare delivery. Ovieteme George, TVC News, Yenagoa, Bayelsa State.
And coming up on TVC News,
NASA's conference seeks to reduce maternal and child deaths in Nigeria.
plus huge crowds join protest against Sudan's military leaders. Stay with us for details and even more.
Welcome back. Nigeria still ranks tops on the list of nations with high maternal and child deaths.
Indeed, and as the Mother and Child Care Center in the Amuwodofin local government area of Lagos held its nurses conference, ensuring safety to curb more deaths was the big focus. Our health correspondent Jacqueline Ogo was there.
At Amuwodofin Mother and Child Care Center, nurses are being taught safety standards to ensure a reduction in the casualty figures emanating from maternal and child mortality. In Nigeria, 800 women die out of every 100,000 while giving birth, while 21 babies die out of every 1,000 newborn. With these figures disturbing, pregnant mothers are being advised on what to know and what to do from the very start of pregnancy.
Once they are having any bleeding, any discharge, either water or blood from their private part, they should move. They should come to hospital. If they have a chance to check their blood pressure at home, once it is a little bit higher than what it used to be, or the baby in their tummy is moving excessively, or they don't even feel the baby moving, they should pick their small card and come here.
So, what must be part of the diet of pregnant women to ensure the safety of mother and child?
Taking adequate level of folic acid in the body will prevent you from having some of these neural tube defects, some of these babies that come out with defects. Not only that, you go on iron, because iron is very essential for the baby to grow, very essential for the placenta, very essential for practically everything you're going to need in pregnancy.
Medical experts say prompt referral of pregnant women in the line of danger should never be undermined.
Somebody is in labor and has been in labor for 2 days and has a prolonged labor. The labor is already obstructed, it's not progressing, and it's kept somewhere, and there's delay in referring that person for care. By the time they eventually decide we need to refer this woman, and it gets to the referral center, it's too late. It's either the baby is dead or the woman suffers serious morbidity.
Doctors say child immunization is a safe way any day to protect them from complications and death.
Recently, it was in the paper that Nigeria is coming up again on the list of the countries where measles is beginning to rear up its ugly head. There are immunizations for this, immunization for polio, immunizations for diphtheria, immunization for tetanus, immunization against hepatitis. So there are a lot of vaccines, and you must take them regularly.
To help herself and the growth of her baby, a pregnant woman is advised to wear loose dresses, loose shoes, and to maintain good sanitary habits. Jacqueline Ogo, TVC News, Lagos.
And outside Nigeria, the protest in Sudan is growing bigger by the day as thousands of demonstrators today joined a sit-in outside the Defense Ministry. Their demand remains the same. They want the military to hand over power to a civilian administration. And the Declaration of Freedom and Change Forces Alliance says it submitted a draft constitutional document containing its vision for the transitional period to the Transitional Military Council. But protesters and activists have been negotiating with the TMC to form a joint civilian military body in order to oversee the period following the forced departure of long-term President Omar al-Bashir. However, the parties are deadlocked over who would control the new council and what the features of a transitional government would be. Opposition groups say the ruling council must be civilian-led and have promised to maintain a sitting outside the ministry until their demands are met, but the TMC has shown no sign of willingness to relinquish ultimate authority.
Coming up in business, Nigeria's Investment Promotion Commission generates over 13 billion naira revenue for government in 8 years.
And in business, foreign exchange dealers and their international partners operating in Nigeria want more participation in the forex market. They say the highly liquid market is yet to be properly harnessed and can help empower the unemployed youth population. Business correspondent Sulupo Gunjabi reports.
Forex trading is an act of buying or selling currencies. Banks, central banks, corporations, institutional investors, and individual traders exchange foreign currency for a variety of reasons, including balancing of markets and facilitation of international trade. This market is the largest and most liquid in the world, with an average daily trading volume exceeding $5 trillion. How well are Nigerians keying into the opportunities available in this financial services sector?
Forex gives you the kind of personality that you are in the market. You can do a short time, a mid time, and a long time. That is one of the advantages the forex trading have over the fixed market and other shares and equity markets that you're talking about.
Whether in your small account, in your big account, so whichever way. So everyone, this is an opportunity for when you come, you'll see value. You just have to come and see for yourself what is being happening in terms of transparency, security of funds, and get everyone involved. So this is, for me, it's time we will change the narrative.
International partners say the foreign exchange business can help bridge the unemployment gap in the country. To this end, they are creating a platform for proper training and mentoring.
It's much better to have on local level when clients know with who they are dealing than to access somewhere online with a foreign company which is not present in Nigeria, which is not controlled by Nigeria's authorities, and actually clients are dealing with online service. So here is the opportunity what you have here, and why we believe in Nigeria market is because you are represented, it's represented by local company.
The platform is offering you an alternative to investment in the sense that you can also diversify your portfolio. Now, we do have lots of investors who are, let's say, into real estate, who are into agriculture, who are into insurance, and some may state also equities, bonds at the physical level in the market. What the Forex is therefore offering is a diversification of portfolio.
Modern technologies for Forex trading are becoming more accessible with the use of mobile devices and the need for government to create an enabling environment for innovations like this to thrive might be a game changer for the Nigerian economy. Tolulope Ogunjobi, TVC News, Lagos.
Nigeria's Investment Promotion Commission, NIPC, says it generated over 13 billion naira revenue for government from 2012 to 2018. The agency's executive secretary, Yewande Sadiku, says efforts are ongoing to improve on this non-oil income. Lara Folayan reports.
Nigeria's Investment Promotion Commission is an agency of government responsible for promoting and coordinating investments into the country's economy. The agency says apart from its primary role of investment growth, it has also helped add over 13 billion naira to the country's non-oil revenue over the last 6 years. The Commission also speaks of its commitment to encouraging domestic investment as much as it does foreign investment.
The most developed countries in the world are primed to attract investors. As big as they are, as much as they invest out, they also still look for people to invest in their own country. So we think as well as Nigeria that we should proactively promote foreign investment, as we should promote domestic direct investment.
The NIPC says going forward it will engage in impact assessment for investments and incentives. It also hopes to put in place databases as well as investment promotion and aftercare services for corporate entities. This is alongside an electronic business facilitation platform and reforms of its one-stop investment center.
We thought it would be useful to do an impact assessment so that we first understand what the cost of the incentives have been and what the benefits supporting it have been, so that we understand what it has cost Nigeria relative to the economic achievements that we've recorded and compare ourselves with other countries.
The Investment Commission foresees its renegotiation of the new model bilateral treaty stimulating new local and foreign investments into the country. This is amid plans to put in place an investment promotion club, amongst other strategies. Lara Folayan, TVC News, Abuja.
Investors at the stock market played down on peaking trading securities as weak transactions persisted at the NSE. Efingekop reports on Thursday's business.
The stock markets barely avoided flat transactions on Thursday following investors' attitude of sitting on the fence. The index lost support from big cap stocks, many of which were down in the afternoon. Average gains were recorded by some light-weighted securities. Presco, the oil palm plantation, suffered the heaviest loss after investors dumped many of its stocks. In the oil and gas market, Fort Oil forwarded its first quarter reports to the markets. We saw a much improved financial achievement by the oil marketing company. The stock market looks up to government policies and the faces of those to pilot the economy in the next administration. Efyong Ekop, TVC News, Lagos.
And crude oil trades lower on Thursday after the Energy Information Administration reported a substantial build in crude oil inventories of about 9.9 million barrels. The EIA report helped prevent a spike in prices after the U.S. State Department announced it would not be renewing Iran's sanction waivers for importers of Iranian oil. At the London markets, the European Brent trade at $71 per barrel. OPEC basket Brent trade downward at $59 per barrel after losing nearly 17% in early bargain. And that's all in business. Coming up on the news. Arsenal beat Valencia 3-1 in first leg of Europa League semi-final. We have details in sports news after this break. Stay with us.
It's time to bring you sports news. Arsenal came from a goal down to take a first leg 3-1 advantage in their Europa League semi-final fixture against Spanish side Valencia. The visitors Valencia opened the scoring early in the tie. Mokhtar Diakabi heading home from close range. Arsenal fought back as Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang set up Alexandre Lacazette to score into an empty goal. Lacazette made it 2-1 heading past goalkeeper Neto with goal line technology confirming the ball crossed the line. In the dying moment, Aubameyang popped up at the back post to finish coolly and give Arsenal the advantage ahead of the second leg at the Mestalla Stadium. In the other semi-final, London-based Chelsea held German side Eintracht Frankfurt to a 1-0 draw. Uncertainty surrounds the participation of John Obi Mikel at the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations in Egypt next month. Head coach Gareth Rao is set to make a decision on the inclusion of Mikel in the squad for the tournament. The captain of the Eagles to the 2018 FIFA World Cup has not featured for the national team since returning from Russia. Coach is also expected to hold talks with the player and other members of the team's technical crew before announcing a decision. A World Cup 2022 venue dubbed the Vagina Stadium has been unveiled after becoming the first to be completed from scratch ahead of the tournament. The Al Wakra Stadium will host matches up to the quarterfinals and contains innovative cooling technology to bring temperatures down for the 40,000 fans. It was designed by the late British-Iraqi architect Dam Adid, who died suddenly of a heart attack in 2016, aged 65. When our plans were first released in 2013, they were said to have been inspired by the flowing shape of a dough boat, a traditional Arabian pair diving and fishing vessel. In boxing, Canelo Alvarez and Daniel Jacobs faced off at their final pre-fight news conference in Las Vegas on Wednesday. Both fighters will step into the ring this weekend to unify their 3 middleweight world titles. Alvarez beats Gennady Golovkin in a majority decision for the WBA and WBC middleweight titles and went on to defeat Rocky Fielding in a third-round knockout and gain the WBA super middleweight championship. To athletics, 800 meters Olympic champion Caster Semenya will have to run a different distance at this year's World Championships if she aims to compete after losing a fight against the IAAF at the Court of Arbitration for Sports CAS. We have more in this report.
Two-time Olympic gold medalist in the 800 meters, Caster Semenya, has had an appeal dismissed by the Court of Arbitration for Sports. Semenya had appealed to halt the introduction of regulations to limit the testosterone level in female athletes with differences in sexual development. The Court of Arbitration for Sport on Wednesday, the 1st of May, ruled that the International Association of Athletics Federation's IAAF regulations are needed to ensure fair competition between athletes who compete in events ranging from 400 meters to a mile.
I can say this decision is certainly not the perfect one, but is there a perfect decision in this situation? Another possibility, the IAAF could have created a third category for athletes having this biological profile. It decided to try to incorporate all these athletes in one female classification.
Olympic champion Michael Johnson says that while the Caster Semenya ruling was a difficult one, ultimately the governing body came down on the side of fairness.
I have to make a decision to either start taking the medication to reduce her testosterone levels or not be allowed to compete. And that's a difficult situation to be in, but I think the decision was based on the fairness of sport so that there is a level playing field for all of the athletes in any given race.
But South Africans have reacted with dissatisfaction at what they consider unfair and demeaning to African athletes.
She has always been who she is, and they need to leave her alone so she can continue running in peace. She's what she is, and there's no reason she should be viewed wrongly for who she is. She's a girl, that's it.
Semenya's dominance of the middle distance races have been labelled unfair by some of her competitors. But the runner insists she will not take any medical interventions to change and wants to compete naturally. Semenya also insists that the IAAF have targeted her specifically. As the events continue to unfold, Caster Semenya has taken potential steps to reinvent her career last week when she won the 5,000 meters race at the South African Athletics Championship in a modest time of 16 minutes and 5 seconds, an event that would allow her to compete outside of the IAAF regulations.
Well, latest report has it that Caster Semenya was to compete in the Diamond League on Friday. That's the much we've got for you from the exciting world of sport. It's back to the duo of Nifemi and Azizat.
Let's now bring you more stories now. The National Council of Traditional Rulers in the country is calling for peace and political coexistence among Nigerians.
Well, the group made this known during its Southeast Post-Election Peace Conference in Owerri. Correspondent Saturday Ochia compiled the story.
The hall was filled to capacity as the National Council of Traditional Rulers of Nigeria visited Governor Rochas Okorocha of Imo State. The aim of the visit is to foster peace and unity among the people of the states. The Oni of Ife, Oba Adeyeye Ogunwusim, asked Nigerians to shun violence and embrace peace at all times.
We want to let you know and continue to assure you, particularly the entire southeastern zone of this country, that there will be all-inclusive initiatives to carry everybody along across all the various geopolitical zones in Nigeria. And we know that Nigeria belongs to all of us. We do not have any other place to go other than our dear country, Nigeria.
The host governor, Rochas Okorocha, who blamed the elites and politicians for the problems in Nigeria, pleaded with the royal fathers not to relent in their efforts in ensuring that peace reigns in the country.
Our elites and our traditionalists have created so much of our problems, either because of selfishness in the heart of the saints. But be that as it may, responsibility has fallen on your shoulders as fathers of this land, and that of the pledges to hold on to this foundation of peace.
The royal fathers present at the occasion include the Sultan of Sokoto, Oni of Ife, Obi of Onitsha, and Obon of Calabar, among others.
Now, the Yobe state government has put Nigeria on the map as the first country in West Africa where the standard copy of Katul Banawi, the handwritten Holy Quran, has been produced. Copies of the handwritten Quran was launched at an event in Abuja, attended by prominent Islamic scholars in Nigeria and around the world. This handwritten copy has been vetted by Al-Azhar University in Egypt, which is the foremost center of Islamic knowledge in the world. Copies were distributed to all present, and many praised the Yobe state government for funding this initiative that will make the Katul Banawi accepted by those who use the wash version of the Holy Quran. The Sultan of Sokoto, who was represented at the event, commended the Yobe state governor for embarking on this worthy project that will help in the better understanding of the Islamic faith and the message of peace.
I would like to congratulate His Excellency the Governor of Yobe State for this record-breaking effort in reviving the efforts made by earlier Muslim scholars in ensuring that the Quran continues to the end of time. We feel highly honored for the efforts made by the governor himself.
And that wraps it up on TVC News at 10. But just before we go, a quick recap of our top stories.
Close to 200 newly elected lawmakers pledged support for Femi Gbajabiamila's speakership ambition.
Residents protest award of 398 acres of land to one family.
And thousands more join Sudanese protesters calling for transfer to civilian rule.
And in sports, 2022 World Cup host Qatar unveils 40,000-seater stadium. All the stories are available on our website, and even more are there. You can check it at tvcnews.tv. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Post the latest story within Nigeria and the rest of the world. Our handle is at tvcnewsng. We are on GoTV, Channel 45, and Play TV, Channel 190. Thank you for watching. Good night.